York is the financial center of America, and perhaps of the entire world. In fact, Wall Street has come to symbolize the entire financial industry, where banks, brokerage houses, and the New York Stock Exchange can be found. A 7,000-pound bronze sculpture in the middle of the street draws plenty of crowds every day.
The Raging Bull has always represented energy, strength, and unpredictability in the stock market.
Anyone who has ever thought about putting up a business has to have that bullish attitude. Something I learned when I decided to open an office here on these very streets.
That's Fulton Street back there. You used to hold office there? What, 31 years ago? Everything looks different.
I used to have an aviation office here to handle business in this part of the world. I decided to visit its exact location.
Well, they took off the old building and now they're constructing a brand new building.
Well, that's New York for you. It's always in a state of constant change. But it's always nice to walk around these familiar streets. This area of Manhattan is called the South Street Seaport, a very historic part of the city. Some of the city's oldest architecture can be found here. It was the Dutch who established the first port here, and New York then was called New Amsterdam.
This is the earliest map of New Amsterdam as the Dutch formed it in 1660.
It became a flourishing new colony, with the Dutch finding this area teeming with natural resources. Pearl Street was so named for the many oysters found in the nearby river. Wall Street was in fact the site of an actual wall built by the Dutch to protect themselves from the Native Americans and other enemies. To learn more about the city's colorful history, I visited the Museum of the City of New York. What exactly brought the Dutch to this part of the world? Henry Hudson, an English explorer who was sailing for the Dutch, was hoping to find a northwest route to China from Amsterdam. Instead, he arrived in the area of present-day New York, sailing up the river that will later be named after him. He may not have found a route to Asia, but he stumbled upon a tidal estuary, a mix of salt and fresh water with tremendous natural biodiversity. Back then, it was the greatest oyster habitat in the planet, containing about half of the world's oyster population. But it was the land of the native Lenape people. They called it Manhattan, which later became Manhattan. Hudson also discovered that the place was a rich beaver habitat, an animal prized for its fur, which was driving a fashion craze in Europe at that time. Soon after, a Dutch settlement called New Amsterdam was built in the area, establishing a prosperous fur trade network. When the British took over in 1665, New Amsterdam was renamed New York. The museum examines the history of the city in great detail, showing the waves of immigration that took place and the different cultures that shaped the very diverse city. It was a very interesting day learning about New York's incredible history. And what better way to end the day than to be at the crossroads of the world itself, Times Square. This busy square in the middle of Manhattan is where the city comes alive, especially at night. Here, under the light of flashing billboards and signs, diversity is embraced and celebrated. This area is also New York's theater district since the early 1900s. The street named Broadway originated from the earliest Dutch settlement and has since become synonymous with American theater. Today, 41 theaters play numerous productions every day for thousands of audiences. And if you happen to be in the middle of New York during the holidays, you will not find a more festive city.
It's almost the Christmas holidays. I'm here in Bryant Park and everyone is in a festive mood. Ice skating, eating, and a little bit of shopping.
Manhattan turns into a holiday wonderland, all decked out with fabulous displays. From the gigantic tree in Rockefeller to the lights and sounds in Fifth Avenue, New York is truly magical at this time of the year. Up next, I trace New York's heritage through the many influences that shaped its diverse culture.